Thought I'd make a short video on French money, specifically these ones on the bottom, the nickel bronze coinage they made shortly after World War I, but we'll be referencing the silver money they had before that, and perhaps just speculating a little bit on the reasons why they changed and the transformation we saw, what was going on, what was involved. But yeah, let's dive in. So these bronze coins, they started being made around 1920 after the war. And as you can see here, that's a 2 franc. I actually don't have very many. I've only got two, this one and this one. That'll represent the 1 franc, but I've got a nice example of a 50 centime right there, 1922. So it's a small coin. I think it's probably a little bigger than a US dime. And yeah, so the reason they did that, obviously, World War I was extremely expensive, bankrupted a lot of countries and perhaps the Western world. And because of it, a lot of countries stopped making silver money, and it was probably supposed to be more of a temporary freeze. That happens occasionally in hard times, extenuating circumstances. You make exceptions and you hope you can get back on track later. So that's what they did. And I don't know a lot about it, but from what I've read, and there's not a lot of great sources that I found online, but it seems to be that there was some French laws where certain coins had to be struck in silver. They were part of the Latin Monetary Union, and those were, I believe, 83% pure silver. That was their standard. And to kind of get around that, they started making these bronze money. Well, they started making it under the Chamber of Commerce. That's what they claimed. So it says here, Chambre de Commerce de France, bon pour 2 francs. So it's good for 2 francs. It's not claiming to be 2 francs necessarily from the French government, although I think that was the implication, right? On the other side, commerce, industry, just some nice catchy slogans. You got some symbology. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice design. It's the larger one I had, and it's the smaller one here. I like this one. I actually got this coin from my grandpa. His collection had this one in it. These aren't worth a lot. They're not very valuable, so I might have to pick up a few more examples for my collection. They made a heck of a lot of them. The 1 franc would have been the same size, but that's not Chamber of Commerce money. So we'll just go back to these. This is what they were using before, and of course also during World War I. So they were minting a whole lot of these to help fund the war effort. And I've tried to find old articles and things, and some of what I read was saying that the soldiers demanded to be paid in silver money. They didn't want paper notes and all that. So they burned through their treasury of silver holdings, making a lot of... In fact, I think most of these, what you see on the table, were dated during the war. So they had very high mintages. Now this is a 5 franc coin. Actually, they stopped making these, I think, in it was either 1879 or 1889, probably 1889. Those had the Hercule. I don't have any of the old ones. I got some of the newer French Hercules coins. But, a lot of people don't like carrying a huge coin. So maybe that was why they got rid of it. But they kept making the 2 francs, 1 franc, and at least the 50 centime in silver. Now, it's the same thing with all the... This is a nice one. All the Latin monetary countries. And they had the same sized coins and the same purity standard. One thing I'll comment on these older coins is it's a nice design, don't get me wrong, but it's a little faint. They could have done a better job. And I brought out this. This was the equivalent of like a halfpenny. For whatever reason, they thought that was a good size. So they had the 5 centime and the 10 centime, same design, but the size of a penny and a halfpenny, British. But it was the same thing. It's a nice design, it's fine, but it's a little weak on the strike. The depth isn't all there, especially on the reverse. Very kind of faint depth. Prefer a bolder strike, because it's a nice design. You can see the lettering, that would all be worn away pretty quick. These, by the way, they stopped making these, I think, around World War I, and they might have been changing the designs anyways, but they did change these, the 5 and the 10 centime, around World War I. Anyways, we're looking at the 2 francs. We got a couple 1 franc coins here. These all have the same design, by the way, which some people might think that's boring, but it's okay. Look at that, 1918, probably an extremely high mintage year. This one's pretty worn. Very nice reading. 1916. Now, I think these have mint marks. The French, as happens, I believe they use like little pictures, and they don't always use a letter for the mint mark. I think they've got little pictures of like, this one might have a letter though. I think that although perhaps the anchor or the B is the mint mark, I'm not sure. I think those are the mint mark. I call them Easter eggs. They like to put a lot of Easter eggs on their coins, which is cool. And then, so you had the 2 francs, the 1 franc, and the 50 cents, or 50 centime. I think, like I said, it's a little bigger than it's about the size of a US dime. And you can tell that we basically had a 5-to-1 exchange rate. Same with the 5 franc, 1918. I'm watching everything through the viewfinder, so I'm kind of seeing it as you guys are. I didn't look at these. I didn't scrutinize these extremely closely beforehand. I was just trying to see if they have little mint marks. Pretty cool pieces, though. This one also came from my grandpa, so he had an older one. Very, very worn, slick. Almost looks like a Roman denarius, huh? It was in a cardboard box. It had a very deep patina and corrosion, but 1907. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. 50 centimes. That was 1907, a little older. A couple of these I just brought out for ha-has. I was looking through my coins. This is actually a Belgian franc, but they were on the same Latin monetary standard. This one also has a very light strike. And these were minted in both, I guess, Dutch and French, because they spoke both languages, so you could get French ones or Dutch ones. This one appears to be in French. 1 franc. See, I think it's just a light strike, or you might even call it like a grease area, because you can barely read 1 franc. But I don't think it's wear too much, because the reading is very nice. Doesn't look like the oops, trying to focus on it. It doesn't look like the reading was very worn, so it's a little wear, sure, but I think it's a weak strike. But anyways, those it would be the same size as the French equivalents. Franc, Belgique, or French. I don't know if they're interchangeable, but I suppose, especially if you live near the border, you begin different change. It's like in America, sometimes you get Canadian money in your change. It's nice if they match up in purities and size. Is pretty interesting. Oh, and then I brought this one. This is Swiss. They were also on the same standard. So half franc, that's 50 cents. So there you go. 83. They're all 83% silver. But again, that stopped after the war, and the whole point of this video, we're talking about these. So, going back to these were bronze, nickel, and they're about 90% copper. And, it's kind of like token money. That's why I said it doesn't claim to be a franc. Bonport, this equivalent. They were made roughly 1920 to 1927. Although I think these they made until 1929, the 50-cent piece. After that, well, a little later, I think they might have had an interlude, but in 1931 they began minting the exact same specifications, but finally under France. République Française. So, there you go. This is 1937, but same composition. It's not reeded, but, it's that bronze nickel. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. And one other fact. So they went from roughly 5 to 1, because this is, about the size of a silver dollar, shall we say. Do I have one of those handy? Sort of. It's about the size of a silver dollar. You can see it's 5 to 1. So they went from about 5 to 1 pre-war to allegedly about 25 francs to the dollar by 1929. So that's not good. That's, if it was 10 times, double. 30, it's roughly 600%, right? Devaluation, I think. So here in America, we're seeing a lot of inflation right now. They claim on the inflation numbers that it's like close to 10%. But, when you go to the grocery store, I know a lot of things have gone up 100%. If you're looking at eggs, milk, other food products, and a lot of stuff's gone up 50%, 100%. But can you imagine if we had a 600% devaluation in the near future over the next 5-10 years? So that would be, instead of paying like $6 for a carton of eggs, maybe $5 or $6, maybe paying $35 for a carton of eggs. But yeah, that's what I read. I think their inflation got worse. Well, World War II happened not too long after that. It definitely did get a lot worse. And anyways, I'll let that wrap it up. If you guys have more information, I'd love to hear it. Comment down below. Do you guys have any of these Chambers of Commerce tokens? What do you think about them? Are they collectible? And do you have more information? Because I'd love to hear more information on like the actual laws, why they couldn't, because they couldn't make it in silver, they had to kind of claim it was Chamber of Commerce money and not actual French money. Pretty interesting, but we'll let you go, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I love to see the comments there. We'll catch you on the next one.